Hi guys, this is Aaron Wilson. Today's topic, the regular season schedule, an expanded look breaking down the Texans schedule game by game with my predictions for each game on the schedule. Love to hear your thoughts on the record, where they'll finish game by game. Please drop it below in the comments, and I look forward to hearing from you guys, see what you think of the Texans schedule, which has some favorable matchups. They've got 4 primetime games. Some of the other highlights, the Week 6 bye week, earlier than usual, a little earlier than most teams prefer, but a lot better than Week 14 like they had last year. And we're going to skip the preseason other than my gripe about having to travel kind of far, but I'll be there for you guys in Minnesota when they play the Vikings and in Detroit when they play the Lions. 2 of the 3 preseason games are on the road, but they do have so many home games, so that's the trade-off for this. So we're going to start at SoFi Stadium, home of the Los Angeles Rams. So this is an interesting matchup. It is Nick Caley's regular season play caller debut, the Texans' new offensive coordinator, working against his mentor, Sean McVay, who is, of course, the architect of the Rams' high-octane offense, which is quarterbacked by Matthew Stafford and led by Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, their veteran wide receiver addition this offseason. I think it's a challenging game, but it's kind of a strength-on-strength kind of situation. The Texans have an elite defense, one of the better secondaries in football, if not the best, and they're going to have 2 challenging receivers to match up against, and a very good quarterback, very experienced, gunslinger type, and C.J. Stroud, one of his favorite quarterbacks, and so this will be interesting. The quarterback matchup, C.J. Stroud versus Matthew Stafford, and the defensive matchup, where I'm a little more concerned about the Texans and their competitiveness in this game, is the offensive line, which is still going to be relatively unproven. It's their first game with all the overhaul, all the change that's gone on this offseason, and they had trouble blocking these guys last year during a joint practice. Had trouble with rookies at the time, Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. And the Rams have done a nice job of drafting and bolstering their defense. And while it's not filled with a lot of stars, they have some good football players, and they are well coached. So, I have some trepidation about this, and I think the Texans will be playing better football offensively as they get further into the meat of the schedule. So that's why I am picking the Rams to hold serve at home. It doesn't say they can't win the game, just saying that's my prediction today here in May about where the Texans may wind up against the Rams. And according to ESPN, which does some statistical tables, analytics, the win probability for the Texans is essentially 50-50, 48.75% that the Texans win the game. I don't know exactly how much stock I put in the probability stuff, but 0-1 is my prediction after this first game of the season. They play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this is the first Monday night home game that the Texans have hosted since November of 2018. And of course, that makes it the first in the DeMeco Ryans era that the Texans have had a home Monday night game. So it's an honor to get those. It's a big deal, and they say it's just a good look when you make it onto the Monday night stage. So the Texans need to prove they belong, and they need to have a good primetime performance, and I think they can. I think they're going to win this football game. I think they're going to get after Baker Mayfield and contain Mike Evans. And I know Tampa Bay has a good defense, but I think the Texans will be able to move the football better than they did in the first week, with Nick Caley getting some of the just first game jitters or little idiosyncrasies out of the way and being more prepared to call the plays. And that 1 week will really, I think, galvanize this team, and they get to 1-1, evening their record after the second week of the season. Here's another game. Week 3, they travel for their first AFC South divisional game of the season. They play the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think they win this game and improve to 2-1. I'm just not that impressed with Trevor Lawrence, and I think they have a good receiving core with Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., but it's not enough. And I think the Texans will do a better job by the third game of pass blocking and containing Josh Hines-Allen. and I look for the Texans to win this game rather handily by 3 touchdowns. So another division game, and this is obviously, I think the Texans, to do what they hope to do, which is to make a long run, they have to dominate the AFC South. They need to win all 6 AFC South games. And they do that week 4 against the Tennessee Titans. This is a home game, and they're getting Cam Ward early, the top overall pick, the quarterback from Columbia High School. And he's still trying to figure things out. He's still trying to get up to speed. And they win this game, and they're 3-1, 4 games into the season. And this is a good place to be, and it gets tougher. And this is where, until they show that they are truly ready to contend, I think that they're not as good as the Baltimore Ravens. They will bridge the gap somewhere from the 31-2, demolishing the embarrassment that was inflicted upon them on Christmas Day on Netflix with Beyonce in the house, and they just were uncompetitive. And I don't think that they will be that way again against the Ravens, but I still think they're going to lose the game. And it's a powerhouse backfield: Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and I think that you look at this matchup. Despite the improvement, 3 wins, 2 losses after 5 weeks, and now it's time for a week off. And maybe they need it, maybe they don't, but this is when the week off is, the open date. Week 6 last year, of course, it was week 14, and this will come at a good time after a very tough opponent, a very physical opponent. John Harbaugh's teams are always hard-hitting, hard-nosed kind of teams. So are the Texans, but yeah, you're in a game when you play the Ravens, and never a bad time to get yourself together after a game like that. So they're 3-2, 5 weeks in, and in a good position in the division, and having not taken that next step yet that they need to really prove that they're going to be a true playoff contender. When I say true playoff contender, I'm talking about Super Bowl. I'm talking about trying to become the first team in franchise history to make it to the AFC Championship game. They are, of course, 0-6 all-time in the divisional round, so they've never made it past there. They're the only team in the AFC to never advance the AFC Championship game. So after the bye week, they play the Seattle Seahawks, and it's in Seattle, but they have a long break, this 2 weeks before they play the Seahawks. And I think they'll be able to handle Sam Darnold and Seahawks offense that doesn't have DK Metcalf anymore. And they'll play against Clint Kubiak, who is a new offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. I don't think it's going to be an easy game, but I think they win this game 4-2, the Texans, after playing Seattle. And, of course, side note, haven't been to Seattle that many times. I think 3 times. Looking forward to the trip. Probably go to the Pike's Place Fish Market. High recommendation from the locals. Probably won't catch a fish. Not my thing. Imagine you catch that fish, and then you get that all over your hands. Not looking for that. But I'm looking for some coffee. I'll be caffeinated, I can tell you that. I like coffee, and I want to try some of that seafood they've got out there. Last time I was there, I went to the Metropolitan Grill, another recommendation. So my road recommendations, great steakhouse. And guess who was in the house when I was there that night? Bill Gates. He was there. So week 8, they played the San Francisco 49ers. Lots of parallels here. A lot of competition, a lot of familiar faces. DeMeco Ryans coaching against his former employer, where he was the NFL Assistant Coach of the Year and was the engineer of 2 top-ranked defenses. And, of course, Robert Saleh, the former Jets coach, now back running the 49ers defense. He's been a mentor to DeMeco Ryans. So look for a lot of stories about Robert Saleh and his friend DeMeco Ryans. Those guys have a great relationship. And this will be fun. This will be a fun week. And it's a rivalry with those guys, but it's a friendly rivalry. And so Christian McCaffrey and the new high-priced quarterback, Brock Purdy, former Mr. Irrelevant, that cashed in this week with a great contract, they all match up. I like the Texans' ability to stop the run, and I think they can get after Brock Purdy. He's not that elusive. And Brandon Ayuk, just don't have a lot of faith in him. I know they have got a couple of decent pieces, but they traded away Deebo Samuel. I think the Texans, they win this game, and after improving to 4-2, they're 5-2 heading into the next week. and that's against the Denver Broncos. And to me, this is a challenging opponent. Sean Payton, Super Bowl winning coach, and I look at where they are, and Bo Nix, a good system quarterback. They've got some solid weapons like Cortland Sutton, and the Broncos are a good defense. And this is where I'm picking an upset. And I think the Texans, who were at 5 wins, they lose this game. And so now they're at 5-3. So after this one, they play the Jaguars at home. And I still think the Texans will win this game, take care of business against the Jaguars, and improve to 6-3. Or rather, what was that in there? 5-3, 6-3. I'm messing up my win totals here. So yeah, got them at 6-3. So yeah, they're at 9 games. Okay. Then they play the Titans, and I think they beat the Titans again. They've got to get those guys blocked, obviously. Jeffrey Simmons and Devondre Sweat, I think they can. I think the offensive line will have improved a lot. And the Titans are one of the worst teams in the NFL. That's why they have the top overall pick. And Cam Ward will improve them, but I don't think they're at a point where they're the winning franchise when it comes out to matchups with the Texans. So after 10 games, 7-3, Houston Texans, and in good position. Last year when they played the Buffalo Bills, and this is another home game, they took care of business. They absolutely stymied and stonewalled Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Bills. Great quarterback, and he's got more weapons now than ever, and he's got a good running game with James Cook. They've got a lot of things working in their favor. They got a good defense. They're pretty stout. They're playing against the MVP. And this time I think the Texans, they lose the game, and they drop to 7-4 after 11 games and 12 weeks of the schedule. They play the Indianapolis Colts now for the first time. We don't know yet. It's going to be Daniel Jones, it's going to be Anthony Richardson. Who's under center for the Colts? I think it should be Daniel Jones. I think it gives them a better chance to win. I do like their receivers. I think overall they're a pretty good team, but I think they're a team that the Texans can beat. And so I've got them winning this game and improving to 8-4. And then comes another test of the Texans' battle readiness for the playoffs at Kansas City Chiefs, at Arrowhead Stadium in December. It'll be cold. The place where Tank Dell wrecked his knee. The place where the Texans gave up 8 sacks in the playoff game, fell short again in the divisional round. Is this the prime time for revenge and to prove that the Texans are to be counted on and that they're going to make this march? I just don't know if they're quite there yet. I think the edge is Patrick Mahomes. I know Travis Kelce has slowed down, but I see Mahomes, who I think will be healthy, let's say, and that the Texans lose this game, and they drop to, they're going to be, let's say, five losses now, and 8 wins. So then they play the Cardinals. This is when I think the schedule is pretty easy. So they play the Arizona Cardinals, and it's a home game, and this is a fairly average team. Quarterback by Kyler Murray, dual threat quarterback. I understand that. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, very good tight end. And hopefully the Texans do a good job against the tight ends with Kalen Bullock, with Jalen Petrie. I think they can handle this game. And they win, and they go to 9-5. And then they play the Las Vegas Raiders. This is another team that was really awful last season. And I know they have Geno Smith at quarterback and Pete Carroll at coach. And they have Ashton Genty. But I still think the Texans win this game, and they get to 10 wins at 10-5. And the Texans now are on kind of a roll. And it wasn't very close for the Chargers against the Texans. They were intercepted 3 times. Justin Herbert, uncharacteristic. Meltdown in the playoffs. And I see the Texans still being better and winning this game to improve to 11-5. After dominating them in the playoffs, they win again. And then with not a ton on the line. I still think they beat the Colts to sweep the AFC South 6-0. I'm saying it today, 6-0 against the South, and they will then have that 12-5 regular season record. AFC South champs, AFC South champs, AFC South champs, like Bill O'Brien used to say. That was a lot of fun when he said that to my former colleague Brian Smith. We'll never forget that press conference. AFC South champs, Brian. AFC South champs. It was great. One of Bill O'Brien's greater podium moments in his tenure here, and probably one of the greater podium moments in franchise history for the Texans. But so 12-5. I want to hear your predictions for the schedule, where you guys think the Texans will wind up. You know, what games you think they're going to win, which games you're going to think they're going to lose. I could be dead wrong about most everything I just said. We'll see. I am not a prognosticator or a professional gambler or any of those things. I do have a decent track record for whatever I pick, wins, losses for the Texans, including some of the L's they've taken over the years, and just have kind of a good feel for it because I'm at practice, I'm around the guys, and I'll get kind of a vibe for where the Texans stand and where they're going to go. But yeah, I feel pretty good about this team, and I'll have obviously some new thoughts on games and matchups as we get closer to the season. But this is May, the schedule just came out, and I wanted to kind of give you guys a more of an in-depth breakdown of the Texans schedule. We got a couple of down weeks until the organized team activities get started up, and we get to attend some of these practices and make some more impressions about the offense and the defense and the special teams. But that's where things stand. Not a lot of news. You know, they restructured Kaimi Fairbairn's contract. He makes the same amount of money. They did that to pay for deals like Foley Fatukasi and the rookie draft picks. One unsigned draft pick, Ariante Ursary. And the reason he's unsigned is because everybody in the second round now is grappling for position for the big guarantee money after the precedent-setting deal for Jaden Higgins at $11.7 million, fully guaranteed for skill, injury, salary cap, and a ton of other news with the Texans. You know, they've done a couple of things here and there, but yeah, this is a slower time for the Texans, and this is a good time, right, for debate, for opinion about the Texans and where they stand. And so, yeah, again, I think 3 times in a row, 3 times AFC South Division champs, and I don't have an opinion yet on what they'll do in the playoffs, but I didn't have them beating the Ravens, the Bills, or the Chiefs during the regular season. We'll see if I'm right. That's why you play the games, and I look forward to just kind of seeing what's true. But, you know, it'd be pretty boring if we just said, well, let's just see how they do in the games. It's not a whole lot of fun. You know, debate and opinions, that's what you guys want, and that's what you're going to get. So I have some opinions, and my opinion is this is still a pretty good team, and they're going to have a pretty good record. And they'll fall short in some games like Denver, but they're going to win a lot of games. I think they're going to be a good team. And obviously all of that is predicated by injury, performance, things that are kind of hard to predict right now in May. But yeah, the Texans heading into their OTAs looking good in my opinion. And this schedule, look how the tough games are spaced apart. There's a good pacing to the season. I think the NFL schedule makers gave the Texans some breaks, kind of a favorable draw. It's a first place schedule. It's a demanding schedule. But it's a schedule I believe that they're built to handle. They've done a good job this offseason of roster building. The whole year will be a referendum on the offensive line, and are they good enough? But I think the rest of the team is, and we're going to find out how much can the offensive line improve under Cole Popovich's direction, and Nick Caley, of course, and D'Amico Ryans, because he's a big hand in everything they do on offense too. He's not just the coach of the defense and the speech maker. It's much more than that. He's very, very involved. And he's feeling good about Nick Caley after the rookie minicamp. There was a lot of praise. You probably saw my article on KPRC2, www.click2houston.com. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We are over 7,000 subscribers. I think we're going to make it to 10,000 at some point soon. I want to just keep growing, keep building this, and I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Talk soon.